Just because we live vegan and no longer take part in the needless exploitation of and violence towards animals, that doesn't mean we are absolved from concerning ourselves with the issue of animal rights.
If we were in the animals' positions, we wouldn't accept others simply not participating in the exploitation of and violence towards us. We would want others advocating or taking some form of action to try to stop it. And in fact, we would think that others have a moral obligation to do so.
And that is what each of us must continuously do. Put ourselves in the victim's position and ask ourselves, what would we want others to do for us? And then do that for the animals.
Because trillions of our animal cousins are crying out in physical and psychological pain, and they just want it to stop. And as former carnists and speciesists, we were all once responsible for victimizing and inflicting living hell on other animals. And so we owe it to them to fight for their rights as fiercely and relentlessly as if they were our own rights we were fighting for.
We must unite behind the one goal of animal rights and work together against the tyrannical systems of non-human animal oppression. As Martin Luther King Jr. said, those who love peace must learn to organize as effectively as those who love war. Because if one thing is for sure, it's that the multi-trillion-dollar complex of animal oppression will not end without a fight. So we have to be prepared.
We have to work together. We have to work together. The animals don't care if we like each other, they just need us to work together. We must embrace everybody's efforts to advocate for animal rights and each do what we can in some way to spread the message and create change.
There's probably nothing that gives the animal exploiting industries more joy than when they see vegans and animal rights activists turn on each other. When we put each other down, the animal exploiting industries win and animals lose.
We need to... We need to stop turning on each other and start lifting each other and the movement up. As the Dominion movement from Australia urges us, we must rise together. And we do this through our diversified collective efforts, advocacy and actions for animal rights.
There is a role for each of us in this movement. We need people on the front lines organising and willing to take civil disobedience in various ways. And equally, we need people behind the scenes in countless supporting roles.
The fact that we had to march today for the rights of other animals is morally abhorrent. Animal rights are not something we should have to give to other animals. They are their natural birthrights that we have stolen from them, and we have a moral obligation to simply give them back.
And we're not talking about rights for other animals to vote or hold a passport. We're talking about their basic rights, not to be owned as legal property. Because currently, as legal property, other animals are being enslaved, raped, kidnapped, confined, mutilated, tortured, force-fed, forced to perform and fight, tested on, poisoned, electrocuted, gassed, boiled, frozen, plucked, skinned, and murdered.
We have a massive task ahead of us. We can't deny that. This is not an easy thing we are trying to achieve. What we are creating is a revolution. We currently are and will continue facing incredible resistance from the animal exploiting industries, from people profiting from the exploitation of animals, and from people who have been indoctrinated to support these industries.
But like any massive social change, we know we have truth on our side, and we just have to keep moving forward. Step by step, we are inching this movement towards the goal of animal rights and liberation.
We can't and won't stop when it gets difficult, when we are shunned, called names, or verbally or physically assaulted. Whatever resistance is thrown at us, it's nothing compared to what the actual victims, the animals, go through.
We must keep perspective on who the real victims are in this situation. It's the animals. It's the ones who have been bred into existence solely for the purpose of making money for industries that couldn't care less about exploiting and slaughtering animals.
Animals bred for food do not go willingly to their executions. They don't sign a contract agreeing to be on our plates in exchange for a larger cage or organic feed.
It's not about improving conditions. It's not about putting animals in those conditions in the first place. It's not about better stunning practices to render animals unconscious before slaughter. It's about not slaughtering them at all.
The exploitation of non-human animals is legal because it makes trillions of dollars for the financial, legal, military, industrial, meat, medical, pharmaceutical, media complex. This complex cares only about profit, power, and control, and their insatiable greed drives them to mercilessly exploit and destroy animals, people, and the planet.
It survives on our ignorance, fear, and obedience. So we must be educated, fearless, and disobedient. We must educate ourselves and others about how other social justice movements have used non-violent direct action to help win legal rights.
We must show the complex that we are fearless and will not let them intimidate us. As Malcolm X said, you get your freedom by letting your enemy know that you'll do anything to get it.
What are each of us prepared to do to get animal rights recognised and achieve animal liberation? Are we prepared to step out of our comfort zone? Are we prepared to take non-violent direct action? Because that's what's needed.
Political scientist Erica Chenoweth's research on hundreds of previous social justice movements revealed what she calls the rule of 3.5%, whereby whenever 3.5% of a population were engaged in sustained, non-violent, direct action, that movement won every single time.
Around 3.5% or more of some countries are already vegan. So all it would take is for all those vegans in those countries to take sustained, non-violent, direct action, and we could have the first vegan countries on earth, and other countries would soon follow.
We don't have to reinvent the wheel to achieve animal rights and liberation. We simply have to take note of what has worked for other social justice movements throughout history and apply that to the animal rights movement. There is a science to creating social change, and it is a different method compared to creating individual change.
We must force our largely carnist and speciesist society to acknowledge that animal rights is an issue and that animals actually are victims. Because if they aren't forced to first acknowledge the issue, then how can we change the issue?
To do this, we must disrupt the normalized, routine, unconscious, and institutionalized exploitation of and violence towards non-human animals. Disruption will force society to acknowledge that animal rights is an issue and force a social debate about animal rights, which we know we can win. This is how we can bring about the social change the animals so desperately need.
Berlin, are you ready to take direct action for animal rights? Yes! I can't hear you. I said Berlin, are you ready to take direct action for animal rights? Good, because that is what it's going to take to achieve animal rights and liberation.
We want people to embrace the frustration and anger they feel about the gross injustice towards animals and channel these emotions into action. We want people to feel agitated and to start agitating.
We should not be feeling comfortable in our current world, and we should not be making others feel comfortable. We should not accept the status quo because the status quo is not good enough for non-human animals, the planet, or each other.
Enough is enough. This is not about veganism. This is about animal rights. This is about stopping violence towards innocent, vulnerable, and defenseless non-human animals.
We are not the victims of the system. We are not helpless like the complex profiting from animal exploitation would like us to believe. We are in control of how this story ends.
Yeah. We are all powerful social changes that will demand and create a just world where non-human animals have the right to live their lives without fear, exploitation, and violence inflicted upon them.
The time is now to join the worldwide movement taking direct action in the fight to give animals back their rights. Animal liberation in one generation. And this is the generation. Yes! Generation. So take it. The time is now. We're doing it. Direct action. All of us together. Thank you, Berlin.